if you look around the league, all those the centermen, they've all been drafted, most of them. And our goal is not to finish last so we could get a good player. Our goal is to get in the playoff and do some damage. So sometimes you become a little bit, depending on your success, you're a victim of your success, and that's the way it's been. But we'll never stop trying to be best and try to win the Stanley Cup.
Sitting down with the GM of the Montreal Canadiens, Marc Bergevin. We have just passed the trading deadline. How do you feel that management is fair as far as trying to address the needs for this hockey team?
Well, for us, I think we addressed some needs. Obviously, size was important going down the stretch. We had some experience. We would love to add some high-end scoring, but to be honest, it was not available, wasn't out there. I mean, too many teams are in the playoff, fighting for a playoff spot. And if ever was, the price was so high that I don't want to sacrifice the future of this organization just for short-term fix-up. So we had some size, like I said, and grit and character and experience down the stretch, and hopefully we'll get in the playoff and do some damage.
Considering that high-end scoring wasn't available, size and grit, which you added, was that the main focus for this organization? Was that the one thing that you figured out on the ice was an immediate need for the Montreal Canadiens?
It was, and also depth on defense. I think defensemen, you have 8 this morning, and knock on wood, a week from now, we could be looking at another defenseman from our team in St. John. So defensemen are the first one that goes down usually. And right now we feel comfortable with the 8 we have here in Montreal, and we're going to move forward with these 8 guys.
About 2 years ago, you mentioned after a very successful season that some players in the NHL get you through a successful regular season, but you also need players to get you through the playoff series. Do you feel you've addressed that need as well?
Yeah, we did. We did yesterday. We feel that the guys we had are guys like Dwight King, for example, went to Stanley Cup with the LA Kings. He's been through the grind. Steve Ott's been in the playoff many times before. So we do feel we have some grit, some character to get us through, get us in first, and then through a few rounds, and hopefully go all the way to the end.
Max Pacioretty has been a very successful sniper in the NHL. Galchenyuk, Weber, and Radulov have had good seasons. That being said, are you worried with the secondary scoring or the lack thereof from this hockey team in the last few months?
Well, yes. I mean, worries, it is to a degree, but also I believe these guys are able to go back where the form they were early in the year when we were producing throughout our lineups, and a little confidence back, playing better, squeezing the stick a little less than we were earlier on. So hopefully these guys could have some scoring, but I know down the stretch there'll be a tight game. There'll be a 2-1 hockey game, 3-2 hockey game, and hopefully we, with the guys we had, going to help working teams down the stretch.
Can you take me, if you can, through the emotional roller coaster or the process of this team starting 13-1-1 and struggling, not even being able to win a regulation game in February? How did the thought process of Marc Bergevin evolve throughout this regular season?
Well, that's obviously a concern. That's why we made the coaching change. We, like you mentioned, we're solid. Even after we lost guys due to injuries in December, we find a way to win games. And maybe the emotion roller coaster wore off after a while. We were the team with the most point ahead in our division, and maybe we'll get a little complacive, not lazy, but little
complacent with the cushion. Yes.
Yeah, with the cushion, and then really, and then the NHL is so tight now. If you drop a notch, you see the teams that are taking over, and I think that's a little bit of that happening also.
You just touched on the coaching change. You've mentioned many times the Montreal Canadiens don't operate on how the other teams do. But Claude Julien was available. Hadn't been for too long, but he was available. The fact of having an experienced coach, a Stanley Cup winner, a proven winner, has it been everything you've expected out of this coaching change behind the Montreal Canadiens bench?
Yeah, I mean, it's been 2 weeks. Obviously, Claude came in. I don't think he expected a phone call. He really didn't. He thought he was going to be back working in the summertime, but I mean, he likes what we have here. He made some minor adjustment. And I felt watching our team the first couple of games, we're a team in between. We're a team a little confused. And one of the reasons I believe is the small changes. Guys were thinking of the change instead of just playing. And now I see it's coming more natural. And that's why we're going to start having success.
Before I let you go, I'll remind you of some of your words from a couple of years ago as well. You said, it will take time for this team to be a Marc Bergevin, the GM type of team. Do you feel like the identity of this team resembles its GMs now?
It's getting there. Obviously, there's 30 of us in the league, 31 now with Vegas. We know what our team needs. Everybody wants a puck-moving defenseman. Everybody wants a big centerman that could score. They're just not out there. And if you look at Toronto, they have one in Austin Matthews. Well, they finished last in the league to be able to get him. So if you look around the league, all those the centermen, they've all been drafted, most of them. And our goal is not to finish last so we could get a good player. Our goal is to get in the playoff and do some damage. So sometimes you become a little bit, depending on your success, you're a victim of your success, and that's the way it's been. But we'll never stop trying to be best and try to win the Stanley Cup.
All the best for the rest of the regular season.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
Merci.